Peace, Islam, Hotep, Amen, Amen Ra, Ashe, Somoy B, Black Power, power to the people. Welcome back to all my cousins, all my distant relatives. Today I want to do a reaction video. Those of you who have not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I want to do a reaction video on the movie The Banker. Now, for those of you who don't know and who haven't watched the movie and don't want any spoiler alerts, don't watch this video. But those of you who have watched the video, just want to see my reaction video, or if you just want to get the review before you watch the video, this is the right video for you. So The Banker story revolved around one black man specifically and another black man. The story revolves around two black men, melanated, probably aboriginal to the Americas, in the 1950s in Los Angeles and then in Texas. Now these revolutionary businessmen, Bernard Garrett, who was played by Anthony Mackie, the actor, and then you have Joe Morris, who is played by Samuel L. Jackson. And it's actually good to see Samuel L. Jackson in this acting position, because we know he was so hilarious in the movie The Django, but he was a coon in Django. And in this movie, he like a black businessman who basically want to stick it to the man. He got millions of dollars and he basically don't care, you know? So it was pretty cool to see him in this. But Bernard Garrett, who's played by Anthony Mackie, is one of the main characters. He's the main black revolutionary businessman. Turn that down, please. Sorry. Alright, so it starts off with Bernard Garrett. He's in Texas with his family, you know, in his Jim Crow, Texas. So, as most of you probably know, like the generations before you really didn't understand what you wanted to do. You wanted to do more innovative things. You wanted to do more revolutionary things. And the generation before you didn't know what that was because they was kind of stuck in their ways. So what Bernard Garrett in Texas with his father basically telling him he can't do that. And what he really wanted to do was be in real estate. He wanted to own and sell properties, right? His father basically told him he couldn't do that. So he moves to Los Angeles with his wife, right? He starts buying the properties. It's kind of slow at first. Then he meets this Irishman, this white Irishman. I say white Irishman because I already told you the first Irish people were in white. So he meets this white Irish guy, right? And the Irish guy, he's in real estate too. He has. Turn it down, please.
I'm turning it down right now. I was doing it before.
Yo, y'all mad loud, yo.
I'm telling Bob to keep on talking.
No, the Irish guy, he has a lot of properties as well. He's in real estate. So they do some business, and it turns out that the Irishman is gonna be the face of the business, while Garrett, he's gonna get the clientele because Garrett knows how to fill up these properties that they buying. And at this time in the 1950s, it wasn't the norm for black people to own businesses. You know, it wasn't the norm for black people to be landlords. So Garrett being the face of the business, it would have prevented some of the white tenants or white customers from being in those properties. So they made the decision that the Irishman was going to be the face of the business and Garrett was going to get the clientele. He was going to get middle class, upper black people and black families like doctors and lawyers and whatnot, and people that were going to school and university in this area. This was an absolute genius idea. It shows the ingenuity of our people, and we still do things like this today. Like just as the black woman acted as the face of the black family because the labor market discrimination was against black men. So it was a black woman who was getting all the jobs, even though they was being paid less than a black man, less than a white woman, and less than a white man. But in this movie, they showed that we were utilizing what was in front of us. We were playing the cards that we were dealt. But it was also interesting because this Irish guy, the first white guy who's basically in the movie, he's from Ireland. And I told you before, Ireland was populated by melanated beings. It was populated by, I think it's the Twee people. But I'm gonna put something in the video for y'all. Anyways, the Irishman dies. His wife takes over the business, and she basically tries to buy Garrett out for pennies on the dollar, which is straight bullshit. It's BS. But that's what happens, especially at this time. A lot of racism, a lot of discrimination. But Garrett, he's not with it. He plays chess. He don't play checkers. So what he decides to do, he decides to be the landlord for the bank where she was holding all her money at. So basically go completely over her head, way over her head. But like I said, you gotta watch out for those white women. But on the real, this is how they was taking land from us in the South. We would fuck with some of them here and there, and then next thing you know, one of their family members would pull up. And then they would have all these different type of paperwork. And they would take the land from us. But after the Irishman died, and after Garrett starts to go into this business of actually owning the building that controls the banks of where this white woman had all her money at, he gets into business with Samuel L. Jackson's character, who is Joe Morris. And they decide to hire a white boy to pose as the head of their company while they posed as janitors and chauffeurs, and they ran the business from behind the scenes. Because like I told you before, at this time in the 1950s, excuse me, it wasn't the norm for black people to own businesses, especially real estate. And what I like about this movie as well, this is actually based on a true story, but I like about it as well, Bernard Garrett's wife, she knew about the business too, so she could basically run the business too, and she was actually helping them run the business. She was actually helping to tutor this white boy to be the face of the company. She would be actually in the bank, and she would be pretending that she was a maid, making sure that the white boy needed what he needed to do so the business could run properly. So I like this.
Sorry, I did it.
Good job, Farrah. But I recommend this movie for everybody, especially the youth as well. There's no violence in here. There's not a lot of cursing. There's no obscene scenes or whatnot. So this is most definitely a family film. So you should definitely make sure you take the kids to see it. Make sure you buy the DVD to support them. It's based on the true stories. We got to know our history, and make sure the youth know our history too. Perfect time to actually remind all my cousins and all my distant relatives to make sure that y'all bank black. We have to utilize the black dollar. The black dollar only circulates for only 6 hours in the black community. A dollar circulates in the Asian community for up to 28 days. In the Jewish community, for nearly 20 days. In the white communities, 17 days. In the Hispanic communities, 7 days. Black America makes up a small portion of the U.S. population. Black buying power is approximately $1 trillion, with estimates placing it close to $2 trillion this year, making us one of the largest economies in the world. According to the World Bank, we are the 15th largest economy in the world in terms of GDP. The reason for black unemployment, black crime, and the absence of a black economic revolution is the lack of black businesses. This stems from an overall lack of money available to start them. Banking. I love this movie, man. The reasons we need to bank black are the survival of our community and the growth of our economic power are recognized as they are able to make more loans to people who look like us, people who are African American business owners, African American entrepreneurs, and African Americans who just want to go into business. Also, the very growth of our community, wherever it is in America and the planet, it dictates that we have a collective economic agenda. We don't all gotta like each other. That's cool. But we have to have a collective economic agenda that moves us forward as a group of people. Listen to what Dr. Claude Anderson says. He describes racism. And racism is working in group. It's a group effort. One person just can't be racist. It's a group effort. It's a group phenomenon. These banks provide financial services and capital to minority-owned businesses. Moving money to black-owned banks, and more importantly, opening credit, loans, and mortgage accounts can create more access to capital that can go to support black businesses, black home ownership, black empowerment, and black communities across the entire nation. So please look into getting into black-owned banks, or black banks. I'm not saying that you have to take all your money out of the banks that you were right now, but you got to start investing in your people, and having our own banks is really essential. Remember, you need to remember. Matter of fact, the movie is perfect example of this, because in the movie they show you that the bank in Texas, black people weren't even allowed to go in there, let alone get loans. Black people weren't even allowed to set up accounts. So now that they let us set up accounts and they banks, because some of these banks were heavily involved in African slave trade. So you need to look up on them, especially Bank of America and Chase, Morgan. Anyways, black people weren't even allowed to go into these banks, right? But now we take all our money and we put it into their banks, even though they helped enslave us, even though they practiced Jim Crow laws against us, even though they helped slave. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We have black banks. We need to invest in these black banks before they no longer exist. And then if they're no longer there, the banks that helped during slavery, the banks that practiced Jim Crow laws against us, those banks would be in charge of our economics and our finances. And if you don't want that, bank black. It's just that simple. So 5 of the top black banks in the country is Citizens Trust Bank. It was established in 1921. It has headquarters in Atlanta, branches in Atlanta, Alabama, and different parts of Georgia. The assets is supposed to be $399 million. Then you have One United Bank. It was established in 1982. Headquarters are in Boston. It has branches in Boston, Los Angeles, and Miami. Assets $661 million. You have Liberty Bank, established 1972. Headquarters in New Orleans, branches in New Orleans, Detroit, and a couple of other places. Assets ranging from $594 million. You have Industrial Bank, established 1934. Headquarters Washington, D.C. Branches in Washington, Maryland. Assets $423 million. You have Harbor Bank, established 1982. Headquarters Maryland. Branches in Baltimore. And their assets is $266 million. These are the top 5 banks. But I'm going to give you about 30 more. So as most of y'all already know, I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Hope y'all can see my flag. But we have our own credit union. I have shares in that credit union as well. Then you have Omega Psi Phi Credit Union. Then we have FAMU Federal Credit Union. You have the Credit Union of Atlanta. You have North Milwaukee State Bank. You have Seaway Bank, Chicago, Illinois. You have United Bank of Philadelphia. You have All America Bank. You have Broadway Federal Bank. You have Carver State Bank. You have Capital City Bank. City National Bank. Commonwealth National Bank, and the list goes on and on. You have the First Tuskegee Bank in Tuskegee, Alabama. Mechanics and Farmers Bank. This is very, very important. Most of these banks have historical value. But make sure y'all bank black. And if it's not a physical branch in y'all area, at least get online with a bank. Like One United Capital. Yeah, One United Capital, they have a really good online program. So, do your research. We gotta stick together. We gotta make this money. We can't do this alone, bro. It's QP the Preacher. I'm gonna check y'all later. Make sure to subscribe if y'all haven't subscribed yet. Peace. I'm out.